Here's what you can look forward to on this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
The other thing too is we were really, really small still at the time. And so we were able to reinvent ourselves like very, early on and very, very rapidly, right? As things were kind of super fluid in terms of like laws and like nobody really knew how to navigate this, right? And bigger startups, right, like Doctor on Demand and Teladoc, they're just so, big already that they were not able to just quickly pivot and navigate, right? And we were really able to do that.
The Nice Guys on Business podcast. 100% gluten-free and now with fewer calories. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community, welcome back. So imagine this. You wake up feeling off, and instead of wasting hours in a waiting room, you grab your phone, hop on a quick video call with a doctor, and get the care you need without ever having to leave your house. Sounds like my everyday dream come true. Sound like the future, right? Well, no, it's happening right now. So the guys that are on the show today, Chris and Talib, they have written a book, but they've also created this boom of a business called QuickMD. The book's called Skip the Waiting Line, written by our guest today. It's the ultimate guide to telemedicine for anyone who wants to take control of their health and understand all of their options. But QuickMD, that's the real story. They're expanding to underserved communities, helping providers deliver better care. The book and the business really explain and help you understand a little bit more about telemedicine, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Talib, Chris, I'm excited to be able to chat with you. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks so much, Doug. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Happy to have you guys both here today. And I really want to start here because most doctors, and I'm hoping I'm not going to just completely shoot myself in the foot before I even get my first question off. Most doctors are just not good business people. They do their gift is providing excellent care, but not necessarily to run a business. So who's the business guy? Who's the entrepreneur? Who's the doctor in the group? There's got to be something like that.
So yes, I'm the medical doctor actually in the group, and I no offense taken at all. I 100% agree with you. In medicine, we really don't ever learn how to think outside the box, right? We are from very early on in medical school, we're just told what to study, told what to learn, and then regurgitate what we just learned. And so that's not really a business startup mindset, I would argue, right? And I think that's why also a lot of things in medicine are very, very, very backwards. And so just to give you a little bit of a background, so about myself, so I'm an emergency medicine physician. So I'm a professor of emergency medicine. I work in Los Angeles at a big tertiary care hospital or emergency department rather. But unfortunately, because it's such a big hospital and has all the services you need, the wait times are insane. So when I first started there, the average wait times was over 12 hours actually on average, right? So of course, if you have like a heart attack, you're probably going to be seen more quickly, but on average, right? And so it is sort of a safety net hospital to a certain extent, but really a hospital that's meant for everybody. And the wait times would certain days extend to 30 hours. I'm not kidding, and this is not an exaggeration, right? And
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And so obviously you have a massive problem at hand, right? And everybody sees that problem. Everybody knows that there's a huge problem. But again, in medicine, you're not really taught to to think outside the box, how to fix this, right? People just like learn to live with it, and they're like, well, that's just how it is, right? And I think that was like one issue that really, really bothered me. And I had been toying with the idea to, just kind of like come up with a sort of telehealth type, a service for a long time. And then finally in 2019, I was like, I need to do this now. I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life if I don't do this. And I looked at the waiting room. I looked at what percentage of people really didn't have to be there, really could be seen through, like a virtual consultation. And at least a third of all the patients that I kind of like screened on a regular basis, like, hey, these can all be seen like through camera, and they don't have to be here. They don't have to take off time from work, and which is also like a huge economical issue for the whole society, right? And then add to that the cost and the overhead cost of having a brick and mortar kind of like hospital and facility, and the fact that the emergency department is really not meant for urgent care type situations, and then you get billed for emergency services, meaning
Right.
for like a little like paper cut, they will bill you over $1,000 on average, right? So I think massive problems, and like nobody was really willing to do anything about this, and so 2019, I decided to found QuickMD. The name was actually Chris had been a longtime friend of mine, so the name actually came from Chris. I bounced off some ideas. I was like, "Hey, how about QuickMD?" And I was like, I looked it up. It's like it wasn't taken, and then I was like, "That's a great idea." Yeah.
So,
So props to Chris. So
well, hold on
uh,
before you go on though. I want to bring Chris in here, and we'll get back to you in a quick second, Talib. I appreciate the origin story. I just want to make sure that we have enough time to be able to spend some time. No wonder the emergency room visits are so long, because it takes you a long time to share your story. I'm no insult at all. It's great. I love that, because again, most times when I'm talking to physicians, I seem to get two words as an answer, and I don't really know. Okay, well, can you tell me some more? Chris, when did you realize that you had your hands on the potential for a booming business, as opposed to just a convenience to people instead of the emergency room?
When the pandemic really started to get serious, I think, I looked at Talib, my friend, who, we kind of helped him set this up and said, have fun with it. These telemedicine companies haven't really gone anywhere in the past. And of course, I was pinching myself then, thinking, of course, the timing is just perfect now. How does
Right.
this guy anticipate a global pandemic? So, really, he would come over for dinner before and then during the pandemic. Of course, when we were allowed to have dinner together officially.
Officially,
And,
right.
at first it was, oh, I saw 2 patients this week. I saw 3 patients this week. And then all of a sudden it was, I saw a patient every day this week. And I might have to bring on another doctor because I'm seeing so many patients because they think their cough is COVID and they don't want to go to the ER.
Right.
Once he started to kind of once the demand was kind of breaking his current software setup and everything, we realized, okay, this is a make or break point. That's when my other 2 partners, Jared, Gene, and myself, came in. We had a health software company. We said, look, we can provide some operation support and see if we can really grow this thing, and then we've got software that we think is going to be better than what you're currently using. Let's grow this thing. I mean, within a week, just seeing how excited the new doctors were who we were bringing on. Really, the Talib is the exception. He is a heck of a businessman, has some very good, natural instincts in business. I wouldn't normally say that, but yeah, once we got in and looked under the hood, we're like, this is really something.
So Talib, how did you know that this was going, or maybe I can ask the question a little differently. What's the difference between what your company QuickMD is providing and, let's say, what the major insurers are doing? Because, or maybe you were just a little ahead of the curve, and maybe it's the same thing that they're providing. But maybe explain some of the competitive advantages you have over the major insurers that provide telehealth.
Yeah, we're definitely a little bit earlier in the game, right? So a lot of insurance companies didn't start their telehealth offerings until like 2021 potentially, right? And they also don't make it very easy for
No,
people to use the service, right? I mean, so I
really
can
hard, really hard.
yeah, so I can speak from my parents' experience. Their insurance allowed telehealth, but they would only send a month supply of like their blood pressure medications, right? So and then they would have to see like a doctor in person, right? So they almost it wasn't really it was just kind of like okay, a transient kind of thing until you can see a doctor in person. Even though the government now or since COVID pretty much accepted telehealth as an equivalent type of like service and consultation. And even from a billing standpoint, it would be the same as a kind of urgent care appointment in person. So they didn't make that distinction anymore, but a lot of insurance companies did. And so that was one thing, right? The other thing also was that yeah, we're just very flexible. You can pretty much go online and like make an appointment for the same hour for the most part, right? And so that's also like the flexibility is helpful. Currently, we're still direct to consumer, meaning we don't accept insurance because there's over 5,000 insurance carriers in this country. So that's a whole nother beast, right? But I think just people are willing to pay a little bit of cash, in order to have convenience. And, that cash oftentimes is, so I can give you an example for urgent care visit, we're asking for $75, and that's oftentimes less than a copay if you were to go to an urgent care, right? And so,
Right.
so I think that's one of the competitive advantages. We were early on, we were like we had our doctors in place pretty much when COVID hit. We had our infrastructure in place. So that was obviously super helpful. And then the other thing too is we were really, really small still at the time. And so we were able to reinvent ourselves like very, early on and very, very rapidly, right? As things were kind of super fluid in terms of like laws and like nobody really knew how to navigate this, right? And bigger startups, right, like Doctor on Demand and Teladoc, they're just so, big already that they were not able to just quickly pivot and navigate, right? And we were really able to do that. And I think I like this quote from Richard Branson. Actually, he has like every success story is a tale of constant adaptation, revision, and change. I would add to that of course you don't want to throw out your core ideas and values, right? Our core idea was like helping people get access to healthcare. But still, you had to sort of adapt. And so, one adaptation was, for example, that so we all know about the opioid population in the U.S. and that we started offering medication-assisted treatment for opioid patients through telehealth. So we would prescribe them Suboxone, which is like a life-saving medications for these patients. It treats their cravings, but it also prevents overdoses, right? And we know we have close to 100,000 deaths because of opioids every year in this country. It's a huge, problem. And so, that is something that, we pretty, aggressively pursued because of COVID and the laws being relaxed, we were able to do that, and we were the first ones doing it, right? So again, being the first ones in the game, that really, really helped.
Well, what I love so much about the setup and the simplicity of the setup, and I went to your website and did a little, digging around in there, answer a few questions, choose your provider, connect over a secure video call. I mean, it seems like it's very, very simple to go through. So a couple things come to mind. Number one, you mentioned something earlier about the 24, 30-hour waits in the waiting room at a large city ER. What do you feel like is a valid percentage of the number of people? I think you said 30%, but I want to expand upon that for a moment. Is it a true point that 30% of people that are visiting emergency rooms are really not needed to go to the emergency room? They could probably handle their problems through the telehealth or through QuickMD? Is that, and either one of you guys can answer that question. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yes, absolutely. Because also you have to also see like kind of what hospital system it is. So I'm working at a county hospital, right? Which is again a little bit of a safety net hospital. So we see a little bit more of the people who are also seeking a little bit of the primary care type treatments, which people with insurance and like people that are a little bit better connected, right? They can just see their primary care doctor for. So I think it's a little bit of a special case. But even if you go to like private hospitals or potentially Kaiser, right, where everybody has insurance and is plugged in and can see somebody the next day, even or even the same day sometimes, you still have a really huge chunk of people that could be seen, through telehealth. And even if it's just for triage purposes, meaning like, understanding, it's like, what should I do in my situation, right? Like, do I need to go to an urgent care? Like, I know I have a broken finger. Can an urgent care do this? Do I have to go to, like the emergency department or describing certain symptoms and then just saying, hey, this seems reassuring. I don't think you need to go right now. Or, hey, this really doesn't sound good. You're an 80-year-old man with severe belly pain. You need to go to the emergency department, right?
Yeah, and I completely understand. From a consumer perspective, we don't know what we don't know. So if somebody's going to queue up and go into an emergency room, I oftentimes will think if that person is going to the emergency room, they're going to have to wait a while. It's the peace of mind that you could get, even if the end result is you need to go to an emergency room from your call. There's some peace of mind, especially if you're saying something like you don't need to go to an emergency room, you can get urgent care, you can go to an urgent care facility, or maybe the option is where the connect. And again, you have to help me with the process here, but I'm thinking that if it's something that can be resolved with a prescription, is that something that they need to go to a doctor to do, or can they still get that through your calls?
Yeah, absolutely. They can get this through us, and the government entities actually backed us up on this. That this is an equivalent type of
Got it.
visit. Now, of course, like certain things are limited through video, right? You can't listen to somebody's heart, but that's a little secret I want to also share with your audience if they're interested. Listening to people's hearts rarely make any difference. It makes you feel good as a patient. It's like, oh, the doctor listened to my heart, but it like 99.9%, it's just completely useless. It's like it's a stethoscope is there to make you look like a physician, like a doctor, but it really doesn't do anything.
Hey, look, I'm a fan of The Resident. I've watched The Resident. They do a lot with that stethoscope. How how off-putting is that when you see shows like that that are like, oh man, he diagnosed something with the stethoscope? I mean, I'm sure you can hear things, but
I absolutely hate it. Like you rarely need it. Like I'd rather have like a handheld ultrasound machine that will help me way
Understood.
more than like listening to somebody's heart. That yeah.
Chris,
And
talk
then
to
you
me.
ask
Oh,
you
go
ask
ahead.
10 doctors, and then you get like 10 different like opinions on what they actually heard. But that's a different story. So
Understood. So Chris, I'm curious. Talk to me about the back end of the business for a second, just about the physicians that are working in the telehealth environment. What advantage is there to them for them? And I know we're not talking to our community for a second, but I'm really just curious how the business works. What advantage is it to the doctor that's going to be a telehealth provider as opposed to going to an emergency room and doing their thing there?
Yeah, great question. So, historically, physicians had to see you in person. So you were either confined to a hospital or way back in the day, you were making house calls. The pandemic really strained that system. You were seeing doctors called in for long hours. They were truly frontline workers, really exposing themselves and their families to, a lot more than just the routine common
Mm-hmm.
cold and flu. So for a lot of our doctors, they kind of reevaluated priorities. They, a bunch of people in our generation got to spend their 20s traveling, and most of my doctor friends were in medical school and exams and long residency hours. So the work flexibility has been amazing. The ability to stay home. There's the cliche of a doctor who's missing kids softball games and things like that. Now you can make really a pretty solid income, and I'm saying that lightly, working from home, staying away from the front lines, being there to pick up your kids from school and bring them to soccer practice and things like that. Similarly, we have retired physicians who want to stay a little bit involved, want to keep their skills up, don't want to be putting the long hours in the hospital. And they really like the idea of, a part-time job or being able to travel and see grandkids while they do it. So there's really not one type of physician who fits this perfectly. It can really apply to a number of different, life situations.
Talib, share with me the quality of care versus going into a waiting room at an ER. I know that number one, you're not going to deal with the huge wait, so there is some level of stress and relief that is provided by getting the care immediately. But what type of quality of care could someone expect if they're a part of QuickMD in the phone call?
yeah, so Chris is actually our sort of I don't know, Chris, what's your title? Head of onboarding. So he has been pretty much since
Mascot. I don't know.
You look
since
good.
day one. He's been the guy for everything, right? Like
Right,
a kind
right.
of website and whatever. Right now we're over 100 employees, and so we like he's obviously now pivoted a little bit, but he was the one that pretty much onboarded most of the physicians. We're really trying to get like physicians that are actually higher quality, right? Like and they're usually internal medicine or emergency medicine, family
Mhm.
medicine, right? But so the quality of care you can expect is really very similar to like an in-person visit, because again, these are the same people that are also, most of them still have kind of like part-time jobs in the hospital, so like you're literally seeing the same people, right? Just over camera, and they are trained enough that if there's limits to that visit, meaning that you can't like listen listen to their lungs, or you can't, I don't know, like you do a good eye exam, obviously,
Right,
you
right.
can't really, do a slit lamp exam through camera. They would tell these patients, listen, I don't think we can help you here. You need to see, I don't know, you need to go to the emergency department or to an ophthalmologist or whatever, right? So, the quality I don't think is, compromised. I actually think quite the opposite, because you don't have to wait for an appointment, right?
Right.
Sometimes like time is of the essence, right? We're talking about like, I don't know, appendicitis or testicular torsion, right? Like where the testicle twists and like, like it can die after a few hours. So time is of the essence.
Thanks
And
for bringing up that subject there today. I'm like, come on, there could have been 1,000 subjects you would have brought up, but that's a good one.
exactly.
He
Yeah.
knows what he's doing.
I'm not going to
Apparently.
curse, but I'm going to bring up testicles if that's okay. So,
I get
yes.
it. I get it. So how now the model, it sounds like you're dealing with an urgent style of need for a physician. Is there anything that's in your practice or in your plans for the future for doing things like preventative care? Telehealth is just a part of family, just a part of your normal checkups, or is that something that you have in place already?
We have that in place, but we really would prefer people seeing their regular primary care doctor in person, right? And I think using us sort of as kind of like a bridge to like urgent issues or like very niche issues. So another thing that we're pursuing, and we're the first ones actually that offered it in almost all 50 states, which is like treatment with a GLP-1 agonist, which is like Ozempic, right? And for example, so it's an incredible medication because well Ozempic or
Hmm.
Wegovy or one of the other, like most people just know about Ozempic, and it actually reduces the risk of heart attacks and strokes and even dying by about 20% if you're overweight. So it's an incredible medication, right? And so we were very early on adapters of prescribing this, and at the like earliest times, we were probably the largest telehealth service to offer this. We then kind of like made a few strategic mistakes, and we unfortunately are that I wish that part of the business was way bigger, just because we were the first ones really to do
Hmm.
this in almost all 50 states. But I think, again, it showed that we were able to adapt so quickly. This medication came out and it got approved by the FDA. And just a few months later, pretty much, we were like, we need to do this, and there was a huge hype surrounding this medication. And we just said, we did it, we're going to do this. And, I think, again, it shows kind of the, flexibility that we have had. Even like I believe a year and a half ago, we grew like 20% month to month, and that's
Wow.
incredible. Like,
Incredible.
right.
So Chris, I think about the business model, the pay for play model, which is where you have a service, you have a need, you pick the need that the thing that you have is a deliverable, and you pay for that. Is there plans or potential future for you guys to do something like a subscription model where somebody pays 300, $400 a month, and as a part of the 300, $400, they have unlimited access to your platform?
Yeah. It's like you've been sitting in on some of our board meetings.
I'm ready to be on the board. I'm ready to be on the board.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the beauty of being agile. Even as we grow and as big as we are, we try to maintain those kind of entrepreneurial values, because we still see a lot of value in being a first mover or an early mover into different things. And, a lot of those creative ideas are on the table at all times, either subscription models or models that include the price of medications included, things like that. So I don't have a timeline for you, but stay tuned. Very well might be happening in the near future.
And I also think that there is like like you just said, you combine the medication as a part of the visits for families that have a diabetic family member or something like that. And at some point, you reach the phase that you have so many patients that are calling you that you become your own insurer or your own prescription discounted plan or something like that. Again, I know this is more on the business side than the health providing side, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are in all of these things, because man, would that be a great thing for somebody that has they have a limited budget, but they know, look, I love having a family budget. That way I know what my cost is going to be for groceries in the course of the month. Doesn't mean I can't go beyond it. It just means that I know approximately what I'm going to be spending on those things. So is that something also that you guys are considering?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, a really famous example of that would be One Medical. They started sort of a what you call like an integrated delivery network with insurance and all these things in one. And a year or two ago, maybe more than that now, but they were a very high profile acquisition by Amazon Health. So clearly a lot of value there. Amazon acknowledges it. Certainly something on the table. Insurance is a beast. It's daunting. It's could potentially hamper some of that agility that makes us so successful today. But yeah, at some point that may be, the next big thing we take on.
That's great. Go ahead, Tal. What were we going to say?
Yeah, we're already offering kind of medications at a steep discount, right? We're working with pharmacies that are pretty much importing medications and to the U.S. So it sounds illegal, but it's actually
No.
legal.
I mean, it's
we
a
all know
worldwide
Canadian.
economy.
Yeah,
It makes sense to do that.
Yeah, so we all know Canadian pharmacies. So we've been working with them because of our volumes, especially for the weight loss medications. We were able to offer actually Ozempic and Mounjaro for like a much lower price, and then the compounded version of it, which is probably going to go away at some point because the FDA just said there's no more shortage of the medications so now you can't like replicate it anymore for a much cheaper price. But pretty much we're really offering the lowest prices for any of these weight loss medications, and I think that's why we didn't have to do a subscription model yet. I think for most companies, having a subscription model is kind of where everybody's headed towards, because that's how we can ensure kind of like people continuously like paying you and like and not just coming to you when they need you, right? And or one time
Right,
thing.
right.
But because we have a really good price, we didn't really need to do that yet. But you will see most of our competitors, they do that just because they want to lock people in. They just have 12-month contracts and things like that. And I guess that's what they need to do to stay profitable. We're trying to do this like kind of in a more offering kind of like the best service and the cheapest service. And I think we're currently talking to the Mark Cuban, what is it called, Cost Plus Drugs
Nice.
service. And
Nice.
just to see if they can work with us, given our volume and given they're very transparent, right? They're saying, hey, we're gonna add 20% to what these drugs cost us, and then we're gonna offer them to you, right? And I think that's great. People love it, and we hope that we can do something similar.
How do you,
Mark Cuban, if you're listening to this, we would love to talk to you. I think we've probably cold emailed any email address we can find. I think that's the extent of this, potential partnership. But Mark,
well, I got
reach out, please.
I got some pretty wide and deep connections. I don't think Mark is on my list, but I do have a number of people that potentially there's some opportunities in here for us to talk. I'm curious, and I know we're beyond our time here, but I want to just spend, if you guys can humor me, just give me another moment or two of your time. How do you stay out of the belly of the beast? Meaning, how do you stay out of the same trap that these insurance companies and medical service providers get into when they get too big? They look more at the bottom line than they do at the health care that they are providing. And as a young and agile company, you're in a really critical spot. You could of course focus on the business growth and really providing something that's disruptive to the industry, or you could sell to a major insurer, which may be in your plans in the future. I don't know, but how do you stay out of being that larger than life animal that just takes over the world?
Well, I would say our ethics pretty much align. So, of all the founders and our new CEO, and I think that's like very, very important, right? So we decided that we didn't want to be a pill mill, right? During COVID, the regulations were so relaxed, we could have easily gone into prescribing ADHD medication like Adderall, which is abused a lot and has a certain street value, or do other controlled substances. And we decided against that because we knew this was going to be huge profits for us, but we didn't want to go that direction. And so I think that's one thing. We always had that like core in mind, that we didn't want to we wanted this to be a win-win situation for everybody, right? For patients, for providers, as Chris alluded earlier, right? Like be flexible and have kids and still be a doctor. And then also for us, right? Like with not having to pay overhead and just being able to, yeah, be profitable pretty much. We've been profitable almost since day one. Because we started really small, right, as a one person kind of company, and I was a physician, so we didn't have to hire physicians. So everything was kind of done in-house. And so we purposefully didn't kind of raise a bunch of money and get diluted too early. And,
Hmm.
so I think that's a mistake that a lot of companies make. And, I would say, in terms of our like, our mission, I think that really hasn't changed. And also another point is like we haven't increased our prices in the last 5 years or so because we are profitable and we're trying to not be, oh, there's an inflation happening and companies can just get away with, increasing their prices. And we really try to not do that, even though the majority of telehealth providers have increased their prices in the last 5 years or so.
Oh, go ahead, Chris. You were going to add.
Yeah, one thing I would add is that, in keeping with that startup spirit, we fail sometimes. And I'm proud to say we fail fast and we fail cheap.
That's
We are
good.
not going to invest $20 million in some big initiative that we're not sure is going to work. And this is credit to Talib for, building this company on these foundations. But, we can quickly, cheaply, easily figure out if some new initiative is going to have legs, and we're not going to waste too much money on it. So, we're not chasing some of these big investments. We're happy with the business model. We're happy with the growth right now, and we're not going for everything. We know what we're good at. We stay in our lane, and it's working for us.
And Talib, now that you're a handful of years into this venture, when do you see yourself coming out of the emergency room and putting on the business tie and spending your days running the business as opposed to running the practice?
Great question. I get asked this all the time, and I have to say I could have exited emergency medicine and medicine a long time ago, but I just can't. I figured it's a skill that takes such a long time to learn, and I really don't want to give that up completely. So yeah, I still have shifts in the hospital, and I'm not there full time anymore, but I just miss the kind of interactions with patients and the stories, and I'm not a full-time business leader.
And guys, I'm going to ask you this question. It could be off the record. We don't have to air this, but I'm curious. What Netflix medical series do you watch, and do you either yell at the TV or do you embrace what they have to say? Because I'm telling you, The Resident, when I'm watching those surgeries, that seems so realistic, but I have no idea. It could be completely off. What shows are you watching?
Well, full disclosure, I've never seen The Resident. I don't know much about it. I know that most medical shows are absolutely not realistic. There's a show that was based on my job in my hospital called Cold Black. Even that show was supposed to be realistic, but then ended up being, selling out to
Sensational.
like the
Right,
Hollywood
right,
sensationalist. And
right, right.
people are saying the most realistic show right now is actually The Pit on HBO. And it is actually a pretty good show. So every hour of that show is actually an hour in the emergency department. So pretty much the first season is just one shift. And the cases there are very realistic. I've seen pretty much all of them, but I haven't seen that density of these crazy cases, right? Usually it's like spread out in like weeks and months to see this type of stuff, right? But it is very realistic, and it was written partially by like a physician and emergency medicine doctor. So, but usually I yell at the TV because the blood looks like syrup, or because in most movies, even the new movies, they should really know better. Like these $200 million productions, they're like the cure to like getting shot in the belly is somebody like going in there with their fingers and picking out the bullet. We don't
As,
do that.
as
Like we
long as
never
they're
do this.
hearing the clink in the little
Oh, yes, exactly. In that metal like kidney basin, and then everything is solved. And no, please
Chris.
don't do this in real life, okay? Like the bullet should stay in there unless you're a surgeon, right? And even if you're a surgeon, for the most part, if somebody gets shot, like we just leave the bullet in there, right? And people are shocked when we tell them, no, we don't dig around, cause more injury, like. And I'm just like, I get so frustrated seeing this.
Chris, what are you watching right now? Are you watching any shows on Netflix? Anything medical related?
No, I live enough of it. White Lotus season 3 has me
Oh
hooked right
yeah,
now.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
very good. Well,
loving that.
another good one, The Recruit. It's not a medical show, but The Recruit is definitely a good one. It's about a CIA attorney that becomes an operative for the most part. So, Guys, this has been a really fun interview. I so appreciate you sharing. Great medical model that you have put together. Great business model for that matter. Forget the fact that it's in medicine. It's just a great business model. I'm really curious if that subscription model comes to fruition. I'm interested in hearing it. Thanks
You'll
for
be the
being
first to know.
Yeah,
Come back on the show.
Totally. I would love to be able to promote it. And I see a potential podcast in your future, guys, as you guys, well, I don't know if either of you has any time to do a podcast, but I see one in your future.
Whoever's going to edit Talib's audio to be a normal length of time, they're going to have a full-time job. If you know anybody good for that, let us know.
That's so funny. We take a 5-minute quick medical podcast episode, and it's 45 minutes just because Talib is hosting it.
Apologies. Yes, I should be quicker and more to the point as an emergency medicine doctor, but there's just so much to tell,
No, it's great. I appreciate your candor and your great conversation. Thanks, Talib. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Doug. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Talib and Chris. All of their information will be right there in the show notes. They do have the book also, Skip the Waiting Room, How Telehealth Will Transform Medicine for Patients and Doctors. It's available on Amazon. I'll make sure I put a link in the show notes. And of course, www.quick.md. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
Are you sure the legal department cleared this? Okay then. For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Hey, if these bozos want to get sued, that's their business. Leave me out of it. Wait, we have a legal department?